Hello and welcome to Dreamloop DevCast. This time we're just taking it easy, no particular topic. We're just going to be rambling on, talking about stuff. And actually, Kimmo had something really awesome to tell about this weekend, so Kimmo, take it away.
Oh, the first one. Yes. So I was ice fishing. So that's it.
Ooh,
That was it.
how exotic.
Yes,
Yeah.
exotic in the Finnish way.
That sounds even better because I'm not sure if people are going to be able to hear it in the final recording, but it has Kimmo's microphone has the whole like nuclear submarine ambience going on. So it's like, I've been ice fishing in my nuclear submarine in the Arctic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was on Sunday, I think. It was super windy. It was not nice. It was cold. I wasn't prepared. I was just, maybe I should go ice fishing with my dad because he likes to do that. And then I went with him, and then I got one fish. It was like one fish. Yeah. I think it was maybe 5 to 10 centimeters. So it was a huge catch. Yeah. I don't know what type of fish. I don't really know. No.
Maybe you should have just stayed home and played some ice lakes.
Yeah, actually, that would have been better.
Also, fish names are weird because, like, I know a lot of fish names in Finnish. I probably know a lot of fish names in English, but fuck if I can combine the two. Like, what are they in either language?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I have to admit, I don't know any of those either. Like, I know some, like you said, like I know some in Finnish and some in English, but I don't know what they are, like, which links to which one.
Well, I've been playing the Ice Lakes game by our friends here at Tampere on our VR set that we got a couple months back, and yeah, you can learn some fish names from that. It's easy. I think there's bass and then there's pike, and those are like ahven and hauki. And
Yeah.
well, that's it.
No, perch is apparently.
Perch.
Or bass, is ahven.
I think bass is
Roach.
more like a sea bass.
Yeah, sea bass. And then roach, I think, is särki. And I think that's what Gerald's horse is named after, not
Yes.
actually the bug.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an unfortunate name.
Or the character named Roach. There's
Oh,
also
yeah.
that.
Well, yes.
But yeah, that was my weekend. I was at the cabin with my folks. We went some ice fishing, and that was it.
Where's your cabin?
It's in Salo, which is a bit to the southwest here from Tampere.
Yeah.
On the coast. It was sea, of course, not a lake.
Did you have the privilege to axe cut some wood for the fireplace?
No, we had done like that before, so didn't need to. We had our own store still.
Do you like doing that? Because like some people actually really enjoy doing it.
Actually, yes. Yeah, it's quite fun. You can just hack away, and it's mindless enough to do that during the
Yes, somehow meditative.
Yeah.
As long as you don't lose any limbs.
Yeah, true.
It's
I
the
was,
thrill
I was
of the
actually checking
kill.
still the fish names, so I tuned out for a little bit, and then I started listening, and I you could just keep hacking away, and you lose yourself, and then it was like, unless you lose some limbs. I guess they're not talking about masturbation then. Depending on how aggressive you are with your
Yes.
techniques.
Yes. No.
We might be.
I mean, personally, I cannot get it hard unless there's a risk of losing a limb, so maybe just me.
Yeah. So how was your weekend, Will?
Sweet, okay. I mean, I did a horrible thing, and I installed Skyrim, and then I spent most of the weekend installing mods and removing mods, and you go through this whole like modding roller coaster of like, you put something in, then you're like, I hate this, and then you remove it, and then you're like, nah, but it needs to be, or it's too easy or whatever, and then I finally managed to get a configuration that I quite enjoy. So, yeah, I've been playing Skyrim.
How many anime mods?
Getting a good mod configuration running in Skyrim is like one of the best feelings in the world. It's like, yeah, I did it. Now it's good.
And for me, it's like because I kind of did all the usual mod mistakes that people tend to make, or way back in the day with Morrowind. Like when you just put every single goddamn mod in and it just becomes a mess and you don't really think about balance or anything like that. So these days I try to be very like frugal about what I install. I try to think like, do I actually really need this thing? Do I actually really need this thing? And like, I don't really actually need 10 billion, One of my biggest pet peeves are people who try to add just whatever content. You add like anime swords and like really shittily 3D modeled monsters and stuff like that, and it has humor value, but I don't really play Skyrim for the humor value like that.
And when you install a lot of mods, you should always start the game up like after you install a few of them, so you don't like install like 50 mods and then start it up, because there's the risk that it kind of gets confused. At least in my experience, it's a lot cleaner when you start the game up and load a save or start a new game.
These days is of course quite easy, because in Nexus mods they always like, as long as you want most to do bigger mods, they always list like what is compatible, what is not compatible, and it's logical too. Like it's really funny because like being a dev kind of helps, and being a programmer kind of helps, because you can figure out like this would probably conflict with this, or this and this are probably gonna work together or stuff like that. So it's almost like work.
Yeah, it's and I think it's even easier nowadays when, for example, Nexus mods has their mod manager that usually works pretty well. So you can non-destructively install mods, so they won't ruin your current setup. You can just pick and choose, and if something doesn't work, you can just disable the ones that you recently installed and try again.
The only annoying thing about
actually download anything like again.
Yeah, the only annoying thing about Nexus Mod Manager is that, it has to be that way, but it takes a lot of disk space, because it of course stores the files themselves, and then it also puts them into the Skyrim folder if you enable it, so it uses basically double space.
Yeah.
But space is cheap these days.
For me, whenever I get the urge to play some more Skyrim, I usually spend more, like in the end, I usually spend more time picking and installing the mods that I actually spend in the game. I don't know. I guess it's the feeling of trying to make it perfect, and then you like go into the game and you're like, oh yeah, it was Skyrim after all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean with modding roller coaster. That's why this time around I went with the attitude of I just wanna walk around and enjoy the fact that the distant mountains and stuff look quite nice and the music is super chill, and I just wanted a chill game. I didn't even want to try to make it into Dark Souls or something. Oh, by the way, now Dark Souls has been mentioned, so it doesn't need to be mentioned.
Fuck!
That was quite early in the podcast.
Had to get it out.
Yeah, but that was a really smooth one.
Yeah.
Because I only realized it after it left my mouth. Like, it just sort of happened.
Yeah. But I really agree that when you get your Skyrim modded up like properly, it almost becomes this chill out game sometimes. Like or at least sometimes you play it that way. You start just traveling around and walking around and not taking any stress about finishing quests necessarily. You can just go around and immerse yourself in the world. Especially if you have some graphic mods that you really like. For example, I really like some depth of field in my Skyrim.
But arguably, of course, it's that way even from even the vanilla game. As long as you don't immerse yourself and think when an NPC says you have to hurry, that you actually hurry or whatever. You just walk around and do random, because it's really very much just wander around and do random stuff. The game, unless you arguably, I think it's best to be approached that way. If you try to approach as like an actual RPG and focus on the story and stuff like that, you'll just burn out.
Agreed.
So hey, how was? Let's move onwards. How was, Matthias, your weekend then?
Well, my weekend, I can't remember.
So lots of alcohol then?
Yeah, I was in Helsinki, visiting my friends, and we play fighting games together. So we were watching Final Round, which is a tournament, Street Fighter tournament, well, at least we watched the Street Fighter portion of it, and we played some fighting games, and also he has a Raspberry Pi custom console that his wife made for him, and it's a really awesome thing. It has like NES games, Super NES games, Nintendo 64 games, PlayStation 1 games, and some MAME emulated games, and all in one. And it's also in a custom built box that essentially looks like the NES Classic, but it's made out of some really light wood-like material. I'm not sure what it is exactly. And it has a Zelda logo on top of it. It's like a really, really awesome looking. It was a Christmas gift for him, so like
That's cool.
so we played that quite a bit. Actually, we played. Do you know the Lost Vikings?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a Blizzard game.
Yeah, we played that. We have this long project of going through the game whenever we get the chance to sit down together, and we went advanced a couple of levels in that. Really nostalgic game for me, and yeah, so that was basically my week. But right now my efforts are directed towards my new computer parts, which I just got in the mail, and I think after we're done with our podcast, I'm gonna start installing these, and I'm pretty excited for this. Actually, I'm really hoping that I can at least get to play Deus Ex Mankind Divided with these. It might be that I have to still upgrade my graphics card, but I think I will get some better FPS with these.
I wonder if that helps with the ending.
I'll tell you when I get there.
Maybe there's additional content there. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe there is an actual ending.
Hardware gated ending.
Yes.
Yeah, and also I want to start a new run of the new Doom, because I most likely have told you guys, but for people listening to the podcast, I had this really annoying problem with Doom that my game would almost every time that a new level starts, it would freeze for like 2 or 3 minutes. It just music and sound would continue playing, but the screen is frozen, and you can't do anything. But then after that stops and the game continues, then it's like smooth sailing. But it kind of detracted from the flow of the game to have to stop like that.
I wonder if it has something to do with the loading of mega textures.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
most likely.
Do you have like a slow hard disk or something?
No, it's 7200 RPM. It's normal, but I think it has something to do with the page file, because the mega texture system somehow utilizes a page file, unless your RAM can actually handle all of the textures, which I believe that it couldn't. So now I have 16 gigabytes of RAM in this new configuration, and it's also like it's a G-Skill Trident Z RGB. It has LED lights because I'm so MLG as well.
Yeah, because everyone knows that makes your computer faster.
Yeah, more light emits, the more powerful it is.
Yeah. And but I have to say that I didn't choose this RAM stick because of the RGB thing. It was actually like I wanted it to be 3200 megahertz and be 16 latency.
Yeah.
So this was actually the cheapest solution at the time.
I mean, you were pretty brave to start building a machine at like right now, because the hardware prices are in the skies. And,
yeah, I know it's actually like a pretty bad time to do it right now. But I was actually getting so anxious to get the new machine, because the main reason is that I really keep running out of RAM. Now I shouldn't do that anymore.
And that tends to happen with music stuff. for example, if you don't have enough. Yeah, it's really annoying.
And nowadays, like I think with the new Intel and AMD processors and the motherboards, the speed of the RAM is actually getting into a bigger role than it was in previous generation, like DDR3. Now with DDR4, it actually has a bigger influence on the CPU performance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I suppose.
good choice to put in 3200.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about the processor. I actually went pretty high end for this. It's an expensive model, but this is the i7 8700K.
Ooh.
And it's unlocked. It's hyper threading, and it's 6 cores. I've never had a 6-core processor before.
Yeah, Intel went 6 cores with the latest like 8000 series i5s and i7s, and
That's really nice. Now I can have 2 more cores idle while a video game does everything on single core.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But the most interesting part was that they also raised the i3s to quad cores, which makes i3s actually pretty good in budget gaming PCs.
That's right. That is true. But I also must mention that I got a cooler for the processor, and this is a Cooler Master Hyper 212, and this one has LED lights, which I chose deliberately. But I have the non-LED version in my current computer, and it seems to be a pretty good cooler. So I thought I'd get the same one for the new one, but with the LEDs because they're cool, of course.
Well, it's cool it's a cooler, so it needs to be cool.
Ooh.
All right.
And
So-
to the next topic.
And to the
Well, you
next
can talk
topic.
about your
Perfect.
weekend.
Oh, my weekend. Well,
Yes.
it was mainly playing Nier Automata. Like that's been my project for the month. For this month, or
Really
whenever
do it. Like
the
everybody's from the companies now. Well, not everybody, but you and Jura are doing it, and I bought it too from the sale. But I didn't have a controller at home. I was like, I really want to play something, so I picked Skyrim, and now of course it's gonna take like a couple of weeks. I mean, or I might get bored today. Who knows? But it's gonna take a while. So no spoilers. I really want to play that game.
yeah. I mean, what a game! Damn, it's so very good. All I can say without spoilers is that whenever I sort of start to feel like, okay, I think I've seen everything, then it's just throws something new at me. Like it just keeps
That's what I've
surprising me
been
all the
seeing,
time. And I mean, I couldn't be more happy with the game so far.
How long did it took you to get through the tutorial?
Second playthrough, I died during the first try at the tutorial, but then I figured it out.
What difficulty are you doing?
Normal.
Okay. Because I'm thinking I'll do I think there's one where like it's hardcore mode or something like that, if I understand correctly. But I think I want to do the one below that, like maximum difficulty where it's not ridiculous, and then I want to just get really angry.
It was interesting to hear Juhai talk about it because he started with hard, and he was like, yeah, like I went to the first enemy and I tried to melee it, but it hit me once and I died. So I guess melee attacks are not a big thing in this game.
What?
And I was like, no, you're just playing on hard, and maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have gitted good.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing, like I was talking to Hannes today for a while about Divinity Original Sin 2, because he's been playing it with the tactician mode on, which is like just really, really, really difficult if you haven't played the game before and you don't know how the mechanics work. And he went in blind, and he's being every now and then asking me like, so did you have this sort of trouble with the game, and was this fight this hard with you? And I was like, nope, it was much easier, but it was still challenging, and you're kind of stupid for starting the game with the tactician difficulty, because it's really unfair at times, and you really have to cheese the game to win the battles.
But I think that's like what you know. It's kind of matter of what do you enjoy. Because
Yeah.
I really haven't played an actually difficult game for quite a long time, and I think maybe Nier will be one where I'll do that again. Because I'm gonna get like super salty and super angry, but sometimes that's fine. Like certain games, it works and it makes it more rewarding when you actually succeed. But maybe for something like Divinity, it feels a bit weird because it's not like it's not about like mechanical skill so much. And it's not, I mean, even a game like that, like a turn-based game, difficulty, like almost unfair difficulty is fine if it's something where you can solve it like in the moment, like it's just based on your decisions. But for a game like that, I would assume that you can screw up earlier on, or you can screw up some setup thing that you cannot change while you are in the fight or whatever, and then you're just fucked.
Yeah,
And something like that is
the
annoying.
annoying thing about it is that Larian did a pretty poor job at conveying what the difficulty settings are actually, because there are three when you first boot up the game. There's Explorer, which is like very easy battles, and you just in there for the story. And there's Classic, which I think the tooltip says that the player gets 15% more health, and enemies, the basic enemies can use crowd control spells just like the bosses. And then there's Tactician, which is like just like it's hard. and then there's like one more, which is like heroic when you first play through the game, which is like it's like Tactician, but if the whole party dies, it's game over. Everything is cleared.
So it's
You
like
lose the
hardcore.
save file. Yeah.
Oh.
But the classic mode is the one you should actually play the game first.
That's a really dumb design decision.
Yeah.
That was one of the things we discussed a lot, like to throw it back to our stuff, kinda when we're making SG Dub and about difficulty stuff like that. Because there's a player type where if you say, you know, players get plus something,
Yeah.
then people are not gonna pick it because it feels like pussy mode. So you shouldn't ever say that. You should maybe say it in the tactician one that players get less health or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you say on your
Yeah.
normal difficulty, that, oh, you know, this is for babies, essentially, then this is gonna happen. People are gonna pick the difficult one, and then sometimes the difficult one is not even intended to be beatable before actually experience the game. So
Yeah,
That's a
like
silly
Hannes was,
decision.
like Hannes was saying, like he really he has to save scum a lot to actually get through the battles. Like he goes first into a battle and he knows he's gonna lose, and then he's gonna go back with the save, and then he's just gonna start teleporting people everywhere, and then start the fight. And like, yeah, I mean, you're abusing the game's systems, but the game also allows you to do so, and I think that's sort of what they were going for. Like, you really have to know all the mechanics and systems that the game has, and sort of abuse them to get through the game, because otherwise it's just unfair. Because the enemies, for example, get like over 10 times the more armor that you can have at that specific moment.
Yeah, I think it just helps to think that it's just one way to play the game. For another example, have you guys played Dragon Age 1? It's a pretty hard game, at least in my opinion. And you know, I went through it on, I guess it was medium difficulty. I didn't change it to be harder, at least. And towards the end, I really had to start changing my tactics. I had to like really focus on stunning all the enemies that could attack my vital party members, and I had to cheese a couple of fights. I had to like run away and revive the party when I got far away from the enemies, and you know, stuff like that. And I can't imagine what it's like on harder difficulties. It must be very hard, especially in the final battle. But it's another way to play the game. I mean, you could play it on easier modes, and then not focus so much on like being really optimized and being really like you don't need to cheese things then. But if you play on harder difficulties, then you kind of have to be like super optimized from the viewpoint of how the game can be played.
Yeah, with the Dragon Age, I think that's even worse if you go into it and you don't know actually what you're doing. Like, you don't have a build ready set up, because you can't. No, actually, you can respec, I guess, but you can't change your class or anything. With Divinity, it's a bit easier because you can respec unlimited times. It's free, and you don't really pick a class. You can change classes during the game if you want. So I guess that's there.
I should really do Divinity 2. I've only been hearing good things, and I like stuff like that.
It's really good.
But yeah, but for RPGs, like difficulty like that can be like for example, your whole Dragon Age example that you run away from the enemies. So essentially the AI de-aggroes or whatever, and then you revive everybody stuff. Like it's really immersion breaking.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I wasn't even I wasn't playing the story at that point anymore. I was just trying to to beat the game. But I have to say, I did enjoy it because I started advancing through the fights in a lot more efficient manner. I didn't have to keep dying over and over because I knew what I was doing, so to speak.
But speaking of difficult games, I guess, or lack of difficulty, Sea of Thieves just released yesterday, as we are recording this. I think I'm just looking at Twitch front page. There's a bunch of Sea of Thieves, but apparently that's not a very difficult game whatsoever. It's quite interesting. I saw a tweet by dev of that game that had pictures from their GDD basically, or whatever, their pitch thing, where they said that it's essentially it's focused around creating experiences and blah blah blah. Basically the way it read is that it's made for streamers. Of course it's also made for people who like to play as a streamer does, but essentially it's you could argue, if you're cynical, that it's basically streamer bait. Because apparently they didn't really, during the beta people were like, there's so little to do, and people were like, no, they don't want to show all the cool shit in the beta. But apparently there isn't really that much more content, at least yet. So it's quite interesting. But I have to, as a developer, I have to say that I like what they're trying, so to speak, because they're trying a different approach. They're trying to make a game where you don't play it for the systems. You play it for that you get to mess around, and you're supposed to mess around. And the game doesn't pre-cook your food for you, so to speak. You have to cook it yourself. It's kind of like a do-it-yourself type of thing. Of course, it's the biggest problem it has, and this is Microsoft, so there's always going to be some but type of thing there. And this time it's that it costs 60 euros.
70.
70, yeah. And I think, but does it really cost 70? I think it's $60.
Oh, PC too?
Yeah, because if you buy the Xbox game, you get the PC game, so it's priced with the Xbox in mind.
But the prevalent theory is, because Microsoft has their Game Pass thing now, they intentionally forced it to be overpriced so that they can say that the Game Pass is such good value because you get this kind of like system seller game for a really cheap monthly fee, and look at the value, it's 60 or 70 euros or whatever. So Microsoft, as they tend to do, is sabotaging their own games basically by doing stupid financial bullshit. Because if it was like a 20 euro game, for example, I think everybody would be completely fine with it. And I think the idea Rare has is that they will build it, they will do iterative development where they look what people are doing, now that it's out. They're they are set that they don't have very clear roadmaps or anything. They're looking at what people are doing and then adding content based on that and building on top of it. And it looks like a pretty good platform for building stuff on top of. And if they keep doing that, it could be really cool. But the problem right now is the whole financial thing, that it's 60 euro game.
I was just looking at the Sea of Thieves gameplay video, and I actually jumped in my chair because in the end of this video, the character gets shot from a cannon, I guess, into the sea, and they watch a ship go far away from them, and then they turn around and a shark attacks them. And actually jump scared at that point.
Yeah, there's sharks and such.
Yeah.
And but of course, basically all the systems in the game are super simple, super simplistic, and there's no the biggest thing people were saying on Reddit, I was reading about it yesterday and today, as I tend to do about new releases. People are complaining that it's like a game about being a pirate. You collect this loot, you collect these treasure chests, and then basically there is no real loot. It's just money. You sell the chest to a merchant. You don't open it ever, and then you use the money to buy cosmetics. And there's no stats, no anything. It's just cosmetics. And two types of ships, one for 4 players, one for 2, some minor cosmetics for those, stuff like that, no loot mechanics whatsoever.
It's weird. It would be so cool to find like rare artifacts or something.
Yeah.
But I think that's exactly the thing, that they don't want the motivation to be that. They want the motivation to be the experience itself, which I think is really admirable. I just don't think that, especially for specific types of audience, like hardcore gamers, so to speak, gore gamers, people who post on Reddit, they're gonna hate it, of course, because that's not what they want. They want the games to be like super involved, and they want there to be systems for them to interact with, and a lot of depth and a lot of stuff like this. It doesn't have any of that. It's just like a really like, it's just a sandbox, like in the literal sense. Like it's there's basically no, it doesn't give you anything. It wants you to mess around and like use the voice chat and play your accordion and do stupid stuff, and like it's built around that.
Yeah. What I played of the open beta, like we played with 2 friends. We played like, what was it, like maybe 7 hours, and I think I saw everything that the game had to offer at that point. Well, most of it, at least the core mechanics, where they are really simple. And for the first 3 hours, when we were still discovering new things, it was really fun. It was really fun to get drunk and then play the accordion, like miss half the notes and then fall off the ship and try to survive from the fucking sharks that just come out of nowhere. And but after that, when you realize that there's actually not that much to do in the game, it became really boring.
And I think that's the thing, is sort that you have to like not think about that, so to speak. You just have to think about the experience. I'm being a little bit of a devil's advocate here, because from a cynical point of view, and this is something that a lot of people have posited, is that they are testing how little gameplay can they get away with, basically. But I think the idea is that, for example, I can imagine a couple of friends I have, stuff like that. And a couple of people I know, that if you have a person in your party who just kind of wants to roleplay and wants to mess around, like he's the dude who, everybody else is on the island looking for a chest, and he gets drunk and raises the anchor and crushes the ship. And that creates like a whole experience, and maybe another ship shows up and he's just sitting somewhere, and he cannot steer because he's drunk, and like it has all these systems to create situations like this. But you need people, kind of to do that. You can't just play it and expect the game to tell you what to do. If you just do the little things that the game tells you to do, you're going to be super bored.
Yeah.
You kind of have to do it unoptimally and fuck up for it to be fun.
For some reason, it kind of reminds me of these simulator games, and for example, Spin Tires, if you know the game, where you just run around in these weird mud machines and forest machines. And similarly, it's just, the thing is, those are most fun when things go wrong, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole idea, and they want it to be like super approachable, super simple, and then you are supposed to not like, it's a game that you are not supposed to game, so to speak, game as in figure out the systems and do it the most optimal way. You're supposed to just fuck around.
I guess they sort of go with this. It's a platform for gaming, or like for games, for games of your own, sort of like a deck of cards style. And but I have to say that the first time I played with like the ship-to-ship combat, it felt really real good. Like there was all the effects and everything, and sound is really awesome, and it really feels like you're in a combat. And since you have to take care of your own ship and then try to hit the other ship, it creates this really hectic battles. But there's a sort of a problem, at least there was in the beta, that it was really hard to sink a ship.
This is something I've read too, like basically that what tends to happen is that two ships like take pottage at each other for like 10 minutes and then decide like, well, neither of us is gonna sink, let's just stop, basically.
Yeah.
But I think even there the idea is that one of your crewmates just goes like, I'm a pirate, whatever, I blow up my own ship, or I'll get drunk, or I'll go off to do something else. Like you intentionally mess up and you basically lose, you get sunk, but you get, like, in a way the party that loses gets more out of it, so to speak. It's very different from what you would normally look for in a game, basically. if you want to get something out of it. But this is really like, it feels really pretentious to say this stuff because ultimately, you know, it's a commercial game that costs 60 or 70 whatever euros, and like they've been making it for God knows how long and stuff like that. But they have said that something like this is their goal, and that I think is admirable.
Yeah, it's
And I mean-
admirable, and I think like you said, Tommy, that it's like a platform for gaming, because not for I mean, let me rephrase that. Not everybody plays games for the game itself, but they play it for the company that you play the game with.
Yeah, I think
And,
that's
you know-
that's kind of the idea. I think that
Yeah.
was part of what they even said in there in the GDD thing, if I remember correctly, like something like that, or at least I would think that's kind of the direction.
And that's
they're
also
aiming
that also ties into the feeling that it's a kind of a game made for streaming or
yeah.
streamers.
And the whole thing they said that exactly that they want to give you like things that let you do that, kind of like let you kind of like come up with your own little stories, and then they don't want to do too much, because if they do anything more, then it will come on the way of you doing your thing. But if you are not going to be doing your thing in the first place, then there isn't really anything to do. And I think that is another problem, is that because they're trying to make it a system seller. So I would argue that it's Microsoft who's screwing this up by probably by affecting the pricing. I might be wrong in this. Maybe Rare want to make it this expensive. I don't know. But it's easy to assume that Microsoft did it. And then by trying to market it to fucking everybody. Like, you know, putting so much money into the marketing of it and not really explaining, or at least from what I've seen from the hype, people are like, it's like a pirate MMO, it's like Pirate Destiny or whatever.
Yeah.
Which ironically, I mean, Destiny 2 also is lacking in content, so hey, I guess they nailed that. But regardless, like, people are hyped for something that I don't think the devs actually were even thinking of making. And that's just bad marketing.
Yeah, though for the like the price, I think since it's 70 euros, if everything that they update or patch the game with, or if they bring more content, if that stays free, and let's say, I guess they have probably they want to keep this game alive for at least like 2-3 years, then I think the price at that point the price is fair.
But it's gonna be impossible.
Since they haven't announced any of their future plans,
But
I
that
think
ties
it's
in,
really
as I said-
hard to.
Yeah. That ties in with what I said earlier, is that they intentionally don't want to have a roadmap because they want to try iterative development, which again, if you're cynical, you could say is just an excuse. But you could also think that that's actually what they intend to do. They don't want to have a roadmap because they want to see, you know, like, what people do with the game, what could be done, how could we, you know, make this better game for the people who are playing it, stuff like that. So they don't want to lock themselves into anything. But the other side of that is that they already, like, it's really hard to imagine a scenario where if they don't put microtransactions or whatever in, that they will support it for 3 years. Why would they? Like, if they know money is coming in.
Doesn't it already have microtransactions for the skins and everything?
Oh, okay. Well, if it does, then obviously, like,
I
what
thought
you
it
meant
had.
with free content is basically that, like,
It's
no
the
bait.
sort of Overwatch
Yeah.
way of doing things.
Yeah. I think that's probably what they're gonna do, and that makes sense. But still, it's stupid to put like starting price so high.
Yeah. I mean, if they would have come out like, okay, so this is our initial plan, this is what sort of content we want to do, but we will be taking like your actions and considerations into account as well, I think that would make me trust it a bit more than just like, we have no plans, let's see what happens.
But in a way, again, from the devil's avocado point of view, I think if you take the viewpoint that they are really going balls to the wall with the whole, like, we're doing everything differently than, you know, the industry standards, so to speak, this could be a good thing, you know, like, or it once again at least admirable if they really try to go for this, like, indie, like, let's just be creative and crazy, and, you know, let's not hinder ourselves with any, you know, but whether that actually materializes in any, you know, tangible improvements, who knows? Probably not, if you're super unorganized, but it's still nice that somebody maybe tries something like that.
Yeah, I guess it sort of comes out at a difficult time, since I guess the gamer crowd is sort of getting quite cynical with everything going on in the industry
But I
at
think
the moment.
it's again, it's the marketing of it. It's the fact that it's so expensive, and it's the fact that it's being, you know, a lot of money is being put into marketing that apparently had like live action TV ads and stuff like that for it, and it's being just shoved down people's throats. So it's like too visible for what it's trying to be, and it's too visible in like the wrong ways. So I would argue that it's more like it's not about the game or the developer. It's about kind of like, you know, things out of their control, so to speak, the problems. But that's just me based on what little I've
Yeah,
seen from
it's
it.
for one way or another, it's always going to be, or at least for now, it's going to be speculation since we don't have any info from their side. So I guess we have to wait at least until the post-mortem at some point that we're going to hear everything.
I think, like personally, this game is going to be more like not important, but more interesting from the viewpoint of what this game will do to streaming and the culture that revolves around games being streamed than like what the game itself is. Like,
Yeah, and especially
I'm not a gamer that is interested in a game that is looks like this and it is played this way maybe, but you know, it's still interesting to see the outcome of this game.
And that might be the downfall of it, that ultimately, you know, because I've noticed it I watched some streamers play that I was like, you know, no matter what even if I got 3 other really cool dudes to play it with me, I wouldn't be cool enough, you know, to create the same dynamic. Like, that's not my personality type. So it might be that most people will just watch other people play it and never play it themselves, which means that they make no money. So that might be, but who knows? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of like extroverted people for whom this would be a really cool experience, and that's not usually a crowd that's I don't think marketed to that much these days. Like, at least as directly, so to speak. So.
So is it like when you see this game, it's like, I'm not cool enough to play this?
But I feel like that often when I think about it, because I think I used the term like streamer bait before. And I think, you know, some games are just that way, where they are built in a way where they look really, really, really fun when a group of, you know, charismatic, extroverted people who have a lot of good chemistry, they are playing it. It looks like, oh my God, this is the greatest experience ever. But then when you do it yourself, like when I do it personally, I revert to the, you know, because I'm an achiever and I'm like I like to game the system, stuff like that. So I start optimizing things. I start like thinking of builds. I just, you know, I don't interact. Like if I would play an MMO, I wouldn't interact with other people. I just want to make an optimal build and kill stuff. And that doesn't create that same cool experience because you don't get, you know, other people to interact with you if you're not going to interact with them. So.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe you could start like a build streaming kind of thing. Like you'd start a new era of streaming.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, of course. But it's not gonna have like, you're not gonna have like 3 other people and then me, you know, doing like some super social, interactive, like let's fuck around thing. Like
I understand.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that. You could do like, I don't know. You could pick like. I don't know, an MMO that has PvP, and you could do like we'll do like super optimized PvP builds, and then they're gonna fuck everybody up and stuff like that. But that's a very different type of a stream, you know. It's not just friends messing around and having fun necessarily. It's more like, let's crush everybody.
Well, guys, I think it's time to wrap this one up. So, thanks for having a chat with me again. It was fun, and I think we can do this kind of free form. Podcast.
We didn't really get to do anything else but to talk about our weekends, but
and then Sea of Thieves. It was like it's pretty much shit.
Yeah. Well, that's it for us. See you and hear you next time.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.